Hi everyone, this is Subir. I'm here to try and answer some questions about your MBA applications, and hopefully I can help you to just get them done that much quicker or that much faster. I'm a chemical engineer, and ever since I've graduated, I've worked for a construction chemical company. I studied in Pune in India, and I was lucky enough to be hired straight from campus to come join them in Germany, where I spent 2 years. After Germany, I moved to Malaysia, to then back to India, and now to Singapore, where I currently live. And I've had different roles of increasing responsibility ever since. In my current role, I lead a business unit, which sounds a lot cooler than it actually is because it involves doing everything from scratch, whether it's R&D, sales, business development, production, handling, raw material negotiation, all of that. The point is that because of these roles I've had so many experiences. And my advice to someone who's looking to do an MBA long term, within 2 or 3 years, is to look or chase the experiences rather than the money or rather than the immediate promotion. See what kind of job gives you the best return in terms of learnings, especially early on in your career. Um, Coming to MBA, I reached a point in my career where I knew that the next step was into senior management. I'm already in middle management. And to do that, I need a little bit more financial knowledge in terms of learning how to read balance sheets, learning how to understand P&L statements, learning how mergers and acquisitions work in legal terms as well. And I felt that although I could have gotten this from an online financial course as well, what made an MBA particularly interesting is the chance to learn from other people, other classmates from different industries as well. So I felt like this learning would give an added perspective to my future career if, for example, I would return back to the same company. This experience of learning from other industries and other people would definitely add value to what I could do. Having said that, my post MBA goal is to transition into consulting, especially into infrastructure consulting. As a someone who's worked in construction chemicals, my business is basically selling to infrastructure projects, and a natural, let's say, mutation of that would be to work in the field of consulting based on mega project delivery, including risk allocation, last mile delivery, and so on and so on. When I knew I was convinced, or when I knew I wanted to go into consulting, the next step was, of course, narrowing down colleges. And in my mind, I was absolutely clear that I wanted to be in Europe. Um, the political climate in America did play a part of it, but it was also the fact that my family is in Europe. My girlfriend lives in England, my sister lives in England, my other sister lives in Germany. So I wanted to be a little bit closer to them after living away from home for 6 years. Having said that, I began my, let's say, my MBA journey by looking up colleges in Europe that would give me the best shot at transitioning into a consulting career. And of course, the two that stand out immediately are INSEAD and LBS. And very early on, I was convinced that I wanted to do a 1 year course to return to the workforce early. So I basically shortlisted INSEAD and Cambridge at the time. Now, I gave my GMAT in December 2017, and while it was quite an interesting experience in terms of giving an exam for a really long time, I got a score of 700, which at the time I thought was enough. Apparently, it wasn't. It wasn't. And I applied to Cambridge, only to Cambridge with that score, and I was rejected without even an interview. To say I was devastated would be an understatement. Yeah, I was mad. I was annoyed. I was angry. I thought I had an interesting profile. I thought I had a decent score, and I don't know where I went wrong. So I went back to the books. I channeled that anger, that disappointment towards hitting the books hard. In my second attempt, I managed a 770, which I'm still proud of. I then applied to in round one of the following year to INSEAD, LBS, and Cambridge. While INSEAD and LBS ticked all my boxes in terms of being in Europe and in terms of being very good colleges, LBS I found interesting because of the flexibility of the program. This chance to graduate in 15, 18, or 21 months, as well as to be in the vibrant city of London, was something that I thought was also a very, very great opportunity. So I applied as well. And in my mind, it was always INSEAD, Cambridge, LBS in order. I was lucky enough to be admitted to all three, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But let's talk about the essays first. For me, you have to understand what works for someone or what works for me might not work for you. But what I realized was the right way is to understand very early on that the admissions officers are, of course, they want to get to know me as a person, but they also want to know what I can do and what I've done. And it's important not to waste time and energy on writing beautiful stories, but rather on writing, on let's say, on writing stuff that matters, on trying to show through your essays or trying to demonstrate through your essays what you've done and how you'll be able to contribute to an MBA class, as well as what your goals are and how you plan on achieving those goals. I personally feel, and of course this is not endorsed by any program, but I personally feel that the more you can demonstrate how your previous roles, your previous opportunities can help you transition to what you want to do post MBA, the higher chances are. And I think it also helps to have a very clear goal. Having said that, keeping that in mind when you're going for your interviews, should you get selected, it's important to have a backup plan as well, because you will be asked this. What if your first goal or what if your first choice doesn't work out? So having that backup plan in place is super, super important for your interviews. Coming back to the essays, as long as you make sure that you give yourself enough time, you should be okay. I took about 4 months to write my essays, which in hindsight was, I think, just the right amount of time. Not because you need that long to write them, but because it's important to put them aside and come back to them after a while. It's also important to have someone else read them, someone who you trust, someone who you think can give you honest critical feedback. Now, whether it's a friend, it's a consultant, it's your mom, it's your dad, it's your girlfriend, doesn't matter, but it has to be someone. And use this person to reiterate. I was very lucky in that my girlfriend would read my essays almost every second or third day, and she would give them back to me. I wouldn't take most of her advice, but the fact that she was willing to do it and to make me introspect and think about whether what I was saying was what I really wanted to say was very important, was a big part of the process as well. It's also, as I said, very important to put them aside, not think about them for a couple of weeks or a week at least, and then come back to it with a fresh mind, because this will give you the chance to develop new ideas and new takeaways and new thoughts, right? So number one, get rid of the GMAT early. It's not an easy exam, but if you fail the first time or if you don't get the score you want the first time, don't give up. You can do it. It's not a test of how much you can remember. It's not a test of how smart you are. It's a test of recognizing patterns. Enough practice will get you there. You do a lot of timed practice, especially. Do it. Yeah. Solve 5 questions in 10 minutes, solve 5 questions in 8 minutes. Try and keep practicing. When you do a practice test, and try to do one at least every 2 weeks, when you do a practice test, make sure that you go over this practice test. So when you've solved, let's say, a whole test or half a section, go back and resolve with the solution in front of you every single question, whether you got it right, whether you got it wrong. This helps because you get the chance to see that maybe there was a faster method. Maybe there was a method that I should have thought of. Maybe there was an angle that I missed at all. Maybe I made a silly mistake in my calculations. Yeah. What you don't understand, please don't leave it to chance. Log on to GMAT Club, who, by the way, are not paying me for this. I'm not promoting them. But log on to GMAT Club, who have an excellent database of virtually every single question you come across. If you come across a question, chances are it's been answered somewhere. Type in the first few words of the question and you will see the answer, as well as multiple approaches to solve it. So do it. Use the information that's out there. Use it, yeah? And there are excellent resources on the internet for free that you can buy as well. Use them all. What works for me might not have worked for you, but if anybody's interested, I use the Manhattan strategy guides, which I thought was simply amazing. The tests, I would say, were a lot harder than the actual GMAT, but in a sense, they did prep you, because you tend to solve about 20 questions out of 30, or 31, I think now. Yeah, 20 out of 31. And it teaches you to give up early on questions that you know you're not going to be able to get. So that's a very important part of the exam as well. For the essays, as I mentioned earlier, give yourself enough time to do them with a clear and cool mind. Don't rush. Ask for advice, ask for feedback, talk to people. Even if they're strangers on the internet, just ask someone, because it's important to get this feedback to really understand and to really introspect about where you are and where you want to be and how business school can help you get there. Yes, I was. I'm fortunate that my sister lives in England, so I went to visit her, as well as seeing my girlfriend at the same time. And I went to visit Cambridge and LBS both. I This was, of course, this was once I'd already submitted my applications while I was waiting for my interviews, or my interview decisions rather. And I think that if you don't get the chance, because I know it's not easy for everyone, reach out on LinkedIn. Number one, reach out on LinkedIn to alumni if you really need to talk to someone. Number two, get onto their website and write to their admissions team. They're very helpful. I've got amazingly early and quick responses from everyone I've written to, and I think you will too. So don't be afraid to just write a cold email saying, "Hey, I'm interested in your program. What can you do?" Or just put a quick search on LinkedIn, Cambridge. That's you're looking for consulting. Cambridge Judge MBA consulting, and you'll find someone who fits that profile. So do it, and you might not get a response to every single mail or every single invitation that you send out on LinkedIn, and that's okay. Yeah, rejection or someone not noticing you, it happens. So maybe that every third or fourth email or every third or fourth invitation will reply to you, but somebody will eventually reply. From my experience, I found that people from INSEAD tend to be, or alumni from INSEAD tend to be more responsive, but that's just a personal anecdote. I can't officially deny or confirm that it's really true. So do it. Use every opportunity you can. Someone else has asked, which admission round would you advise applicants in? Now, I don't work for the university, so I can't really confirm or deny which admission round is the best. But logic dictates that as an overrepresented candidate, go for round one. The reason being that um, schools like to maintain that diversity. The part of the MBA experience is being able to understand and being able to communicate with, being in contact with different ideas and people from different profiles. And if you happen to be from an overrepresented profile, your chances of not getting in are that much higher the later you apply. For the simple reason that if someone else has a similar profile to yours and who's applied in earlier round and they're already in, they've probably already taken your spot, or they've probably already taken the spot that was kept for you, or that was kept for someone of your profile. So the earlier you apply, I would always say the better. Yeah. What is important, I think, to introspect before you start your application journey is to understand that it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of patience. So be prepared for that. Be prepared to stay up at night. Be prepared to be put in, or to be prepared to be outside your comfort zone. And most of all, be absolutely 100% convinced that you want to do this and give it your best. Don't do it half-heartedly, and don't go in with just one foot. Jump in, and I'm sure you will succeed. Good luck to all of you.